In Genesis 9, God established a rainbow as a sign of the covenant that he was making between him and every living creature with Noah, a covenant for all generations to come. And that rainbow is a sign that signifies that he will never again destroy the earth by flood waters. He will indeed destroy the earth. He's going to destroy it by fire, but he will never again destroy it by flood, at least not the entire earth. That's what that rainbow represents. And he said in verse 13, I have set my rainbow in the clouds, and it will be the sign of the covenant between me and the earth. There are signs or indications that God is fulfilling his covenant with us, and there are also signs that we are fulfilling our covenant with him. And this covenant is intended to be a relationship. It's intended to be collaborative, and it's intended to be interactive. When we look at that rainbow, we're supposed to not only remember the covenant that God made with us, but we're also supposed to remember our covenant that we make with him, and that he will indeed destroy humanity. He will indeed destroy the earth and everything that remains with it after he has taken his people out of here. So it's not that we just look at that sign and we think about what God did for us. We look at that sign and we remember that God does not spare the wicked. God also talks about signs in us that we are in this covenant with him. He told Abraham in Genesis 17:11, you are to undergo circumcision, and it will be the sign of the covenant between me and you. The sign of what covenant? That you are to be circumcised. You're to be circumcised in heart from the sinful desires of the flesh and from the world. You are to be a people who are set apart by him. Detached, disconnected, circumcised from the world. Exodus 8:23, I will make a distinction between my people and your people. This sign will occur tomorrow. So he separates his people from other people. And remember, he might even put a mark on you, as he did with Cain, as he does with his servants and with his witnesses, so that his wrath passes over them. The multitude in white robes, so that his wrath passes over them. He told the Israelites to mark the door with the blood of the lamb, so that he knew to pass over them, and he brought his wrath. A distinction between his people and those who are not his people. A sign, something that demarks. It is demarcating separation. In Exodus 31:13, he says, say to the Israelites, you must observe my Sabbaths. This will be a sign between me and you for the generations to come, so that you will know that I am the Lord who makes you holy. Verse 17, it will be a sign between me and the Israelites forever, for in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, and on the seventh day he rested and was refreshed. You know, if you're his children, then you will do as he does. And in Ezekiel 20:12, he says, also I gave them my Sabbaths as a sign between us, that they would know that I the Lord made them holy. And again, in Ezekiel 20:20, keep my Sabbaths holy, that they may be a sign between us. Then you will know that I am the Lord your God. You know, it's interesting because as time has gone on, the world has kept us very, very busy, requiring us to work and work and work and always be busy and always be distracted. Even if we're not working, we're on our phones, we're watching TV, always doing something, but never sitting still with God. So this is a requirement that we enter his rest. If we are in him, we're supposed to enter his rest. We were never supposed to become like the world, so busy and so preoccupied and filled with all other voices and spirits other than God. And there are signs, there are indications as to whether we're his or whether we are of the world. And we need to be paying attention to the fruit that we're bearing. What are the signs that we are his? In Galatians chapter 5, verse 22 through 23, he tells us, this fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, forbearance, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Against such things there is no law. This is the fruit of the Spirit. These are signs that we are in him. These are the fruit that we're supposed to be bearing if we are in him. Another thing that indicates whether or not we're in him is what we're dressed in. What is it that we're valuing? Are we valuing being dressed in the world, or are we valuing being dressed in the righteous acts of God's people? Paul said, I want women to adorn themselves with proper clothing, modesty, and discreetly, not with braided hair and gold or pearls or expensive apparel. Self-control, modesty, propriety, faith, love, holiness. These are the things that we're supposed to be adorned in. These are the things that we're supposed to be identifying as beautiful. And these are a sign that we are in him. Years ago, I was working with a woman who her marriage was very unhappy. And part of the reason it was unhappy is because she kept trying to please her partner. She was not focused on pleasing God and then God restoring her marriage. She was focused either on pleasing her partner or nagging her partner. And I remember her saying she was a very, very just classy, beautiful dresser, beautiful woman. And I remember that she was in so much pain, and she was telling me how she was watching this couple, and she said the wife wasn't all that attractive. The husband was very good looking. The wife was not really that attractive, but you could see that the husband was so in love with her, and he was really doting on her. And I remember her saying, "What's wrong with me?" This woman was a very beautiful dresser, beautiful figure, sweet, kind, wanting to please, but her priorities were askew. She was very focused on earthly life, and she was very focused on an earthly marriage, not a godly marriage, but an earthly marriage. And that marriage often became her idol, and that family often became her idol. And it often became a hindrance to her actually living a godly life, because she couldn't imagine how godly life could be reconciled with all of the things that she thought she wanted, all the things she thought she wanted for her child, all of the things she thought she wanted in her marriage. And it was a hindrance. And I remember thinking at the time, this is a beautiful woman. And there are so many beautiful women who just destroy themselves with plastic surgery, and they become what the world says is perfect, and they are so insecure, no confidence whatsoever. And they end up with the most dump truck men, in bondage to the most dump truck husbands. You understand where I'm going with this? You got to be dressed in the things that are going to be attractive and are going to be eternal forever to your God. And everything else is going to flow out of that. He is going to turn the heart of the husband he brought you together with towards you. When you are living according to what he desires, what he values. When you are living as one who has that sign. And the same thing goes for husbands. I'm not just talking to women, but God has likened his church to a woman. Doesn't mean that his church is only consisting of women. This same thing goes for husbands. When you are living a godly life, God is going to turn the heart of the spouse he made you one with. Why wouldn't he? That's in his name. That's in his purpose. That's in his cause. Has he not said that what he brought together, let no man separate? When you are living a godly life and you are dressed in the things that God requires and desires, it'll be a sign. The things that we have valued here and that we consider to be perfection are defilement in the sight of God. He made you in his image. His image is perfection. And he expects you to maintain that image, to live as one who has been set aside, who has been set apart, who has been marked, and that will be a sign. And he will conform all things. Everything else is easy for the Lord. Do you get that? Everything else is easy for the Lord. The part that is not easy is forcing you to live in the covenant that he has given you. That's the only part that's not easy. And the reason it's not easy is because by his sovereign choice, he has chosen to give you choice. That's the only reason it's not easy, because he's not going to go backwards on that, and he's not going to force you to do it. Everything else he can conform. And why would he not if it's not in his name? If you are praying for something in his name, why would he not fulfill that? But you have to cooperate. You're going to have to cooperate with your part. If you are separated from your spouse, you are going to have to be built in order to be used in his name. He will testify to the things he builds in you, but he will not testify to the things that you build in you. There are a lot of signs that indicate whether we are his and whether we are not. And my prayer for you is that you will sit and think about that. What are the signs that you are bearing? What is the fruit that's coming out of you? Are you understanding the signs that the Lord has established of what needs to be coming out of you, what you need to be adorned in order to be in the name you claim? And if you're not, I pray that he will make clear to you what needs to change. There really is only a little while longer that these things that defile us will be attractive. A time is coming, as the Lord says, when we're going to throw out our idols as a menstrual cloth. Idols of gold and silver and all kinds of articles of worldly garbage. When our hearts are going to be brought into, when he's going to turn our hearts to the things that he loves and he desires. But while we're here living in the flesh, we need to circumcise from that flesh. We need to circumcise from the things that the world chases after. The things that pagans love. There's good reason why God has had me give away everything. You know, like I sit here sometimes and I'm like, okay, yep, I'm wearing this shirt that's like junky fabric and it pills. It gets those little balls. I got to go get the, I don't know, that little machine that takes off the balls. I had some very luxurious clothes prior, but there's good reason that he has me in a totally different place now. None of the clothes I'm not attached to any of the clothes in my closet. That is a good feeling. Those are not idols. I am not attached to them. I'm not attached to any of the shoes. He had to do that to me. He had to circumcise me. He had to cut this stuff off of me to create separation from everything, including certain relationships. He had to teach me how to have a different relationship with the people that I love, so that there's nothing that I'm holding on to, and that when I look at the people I love, I don't think, oh, I hope they live a long life. I don't think that. I hope they're here longer. My goodness, no way. I think and pray, Lord, what are the ways that I need to influence them and teach them so that they fulfill the role that they came here to fulfill, so that they don't have to be here longer than they have to, so that we can be together in heaven sooner than later. I think, what are the ways I need to prepare them before I go? And I pray over and over, Lord, whatever you have to do to bring them low, whatever you have to do to bring them into position, keep them, just keep them. Please don't let them go. That's the way I think about the people I love. You know what I used to think when I was worldly? I was laying in my bed, wishing to die, waiting to die, staying alive so that I could just make more money to leave for my daughter. That's what I was thinking. How pathetic and sad. That's the value of my human life, my life. That's what I used to think about, the things that I was going to leave for her so that she would be financially taken care of when I died. Those aren't even things that my daughter values. You know what my daughter wanted from me? She wanted me to be well. She didn't want to have to worry about me. She wanted me to be right with God. She wanted me to be fulfilled. You think she cared about that money? She wanted peace. I know my daughter, and I know that she could have cared less about any of that. And in his mercy and sovereign choice, God has given her all of that. She knows that I'm good with God. She knows we're going to be together as long as each of us is fulfilling our covenants. She knows she doesn't have to worry about me. She knows now that when she asks me about something or she talks with me about something, that I actually have wisdom that comes from God, and that I'm going to speak from that wisdom, and I'm not going to speak from some woo-woo worldly psychological platform that's just irritating. To be honest, it's irritating to people because there's no truth in it. It's pretentious. There's no truth and there's no healing. And you know what? When people are speaking from that platform and you can see that they're a disaster, it's even worse. You can't take it seriously. What's the sign? What's the sign that I know what I'm talking about? The sign is the fruit that I'm bearing in my own life. The sign is the fruit between me and you. And it needs to be the same with us in our covenant with God. We need to be bearing that fruit, that what we're speaking is true, that we're actually bearing the fruit of one who is being healed by God, not just claiming to be healed as the world does. Thank you for listening. God bless you, and I'll see you in the next video.